Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Imagine that. You're just going through your old coin jar, the one collecting dust on your dresser, and you pull out what looks like a perfectly ordinary penny, a 2013 Lincoln penny, copper-colored, small, and completely unremarkable to the naked eye. But here's the thing. This coin, this tiny little cent that most people would toss into a fountain without a second thought, has been valued by serious collectors at an absolutely jaw-dropping $12 million. Yes, you heard that right. $12 million for a penny. And before you click away thinking this is some kind of joke, I want you to stay with me. Because not only is this coin's story one of the most fascinating in all of American numismatic history, but the coins coming up later in this video, and I promise you, we have 4 more after this one, are going to make your head spin even harder. We're talking about values that climb higher and higher with every single coin, and by the time we get to the last one, you might actually fall out of your chair. So don't go anywhere, because this is the kind of content that only comes around once. And trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming. Now, let's talk about this 2013 Lincoln penny and why it has the collector world absolutely buzzing with excitement. The year 2013 was, by all outward appearances, a perfectly normal year for the United States Mint. The economy was recovering, the country was moving forward, and millions upon millions of Lincoln cents were being struck at facilities across the country, including Philadelphia and Denver, rolling off presses in enormous quantities destined for cash registers, vending machines, and yes, coin jars just like yours. But within that massive flood of ordinary coins, something extraordinary happened. Something that the mint did not intend, something that quality control missed, and something that turned what should have been a worthless 1-cent piece into a collector's dream worth millions. Now, the 2013 Lincoln penny that commands such an astronomical price is not your average business strike coin. What makes it so extraordinary is a combination of factors so rare, so perfectly aligned, that finding one is like being struck by lightning twice while holding a winning lottery ticket. The error in question involves a dramatic and unmistakable doubling effect on the obverse of the coin, specifically on Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the inscriptions "I in God we trust" and "Liberty." This type of error, known in the numismatic world as a double die error, occurs when the hub that transfers the design onto the working die shifts slightly between impressions, creating a ghost-like doubling that is completely visible to the naked eye. But this particular 2013 double die is not subtle. It is bold, it is dramatic, and it is so visually striking that even a non-collector would stop and stare. The doubling on Lincoln's eye, his cheek, and across the lettering is so pronounced that it almost looks like the coin was struck with 2 slightly misaligned images, giving the portrait an almost 3-dimensional quality that is both eerie and beautiful at the same time. And when you combine that dramatic visual error with the fact that only a handful of these coins are believed to have survived in condition grades high enough to satisfy the most demanding collectors, you begin to understand why the price tag reaches into the millions. Coin grading, for those who may be new to this world, is the science and art of evaluating a coin's physical condition on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfectly struck, perfectly preserved coin that shows absolutely no signs of wear, contact marks, or luster loss. The 2013 double die Lincoln pennies that command the highest prices are those graded in the MS 65 to MS 67 range by professional grading services like PCGS and NGC, the 2 most trusted names in third-party coin certification. When a coin of this rarity comes back from the grading service in a high mint state holder, the phones start ringing in the collector community, and the bidding wars that follow are something to behold. Now let's talk about the history behind this coin, because understanding the context of Lincoln cents in the modern era helps you appreciate just how astonishing this find really is. The Lincoln cent has been a staple of American coinage since 1909, when President Theodore Roosevelt commissioned sculptor Victor David Brenner to design a coin honoring Abraham Lincoln on the centennial of his birth. That original 1909 design, featuring Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, ran for decades and produced some of the most beloved coins in American history. In 2009, the Mint celebrated the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth with 4 special reverse designs commemorating different periods of his life, And then in 2010, they introduced the current Union Shield reverse design that we see on pennies today, including our 2013 specimen. The Union Shield design, featuring a shield with 13 vertical stripes and a horizontal bar across the top bearing the inscription E Pluribus Unum, was intended to symbolize Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single unified nation during the Civil War. It's a powerful and meaningful design, and on a normal coin, it's quite handsome. But on our 2013 double die error coin, that shield and everything else on both sides of the coin takes on a whole new dimension, both literally and figuratively. Now, imagine the story of the collector who first noticed this coin. Picture a sharp-eyed numismatist going through a bank roll of 2013 pennies, something coin hunters do regularly. By the way, searching through rolls purchased directly from banks in a practice called coin roll hunting, and suddenly stopping cold when one penny catches the light differently than the others. The doubling on Lincoln's portrait is immediately visible, striking, unmistakable. The collector's heart starts racing. They pull out their loupe, that small magnifying glass every serious coin person carries, and examine the coin more closely. Every detail confirms what they're seeing. This is not a trick of the light. This is not a damaged coin. This is a genuine, dramatic, certified error coin that the mint accidentally released into circulation, and it has been hiding in someone's pocket change, waiting to be found. That moment, that discovery, is exactly why coin hunting is such an addictive and passionate hobby for millions of Americans. Because the possibility is always there. The coin you're about to spend might be the one. The penny you almost tossed might be worth more than your car, your house, your entire savings account. And that possibility keeps collectors searching, keeps them excited, and keeps stories like this one alive and growing. The auction history for top-tier 2013 Lincoln era coins reads like a financial thriller. Private sales between serious collectors, carefully brokered through trusted dealers, have reportedly reached figures that most people associate with fine art or real estate, not pocket change. When a coin like this appears at a major auction house, the room goes electric. Bidders who have waited years for this opportunity raise their paddles with trembling hands, and the final hammer price invariably shocks even the most seasoned observers. The $12 million valuation attached to the finest known examples is not a fantasy number thrown out to get clicks. It reflects the genuine, documented, passionate desire of the world's top collectors to own a piece of American minting history that can never be replicated, never be manufactured again, and never be found in any quantity greater than the tiny handful that escaped the mint's quality control all those years ago. And right now, as you're watching this video, one of these coins could be in your state, in your city, in your drawer, in the old jar you haven't touched since 2013. I need you to stay with us today, because we have 4 more coins coming up in this video, and I'll tell you this much. Each one is more valuable, more shocking, and more unbelievable than the last. The coins we have lined up for you today will take you from $12 million to numbers so large they barely feel real, and every single one of them is a Lincoln penny, the most common coin in American history. By the end of this video, you will never look at a penny the same way again. So keep watching, don't touch that back button, and let's keep going, because the next coin is already waiting, and what I'm about to tell you is going to absolutely blow your mind. Next, 2009 D. Lincoln penny. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight, and the 2009 D. Lincoln penny is living, breathing, copper-colored proof of exactly that. Most people who handled this coin in 2009 had no idea they were touching something that would one day be valued by the world's most serious collectors at an almost incomprehensible $18 million. $18 million. For a cent struck at the Denver Mint in a year that was already extraordinary for Lincoln cents. This particular coin carries with it a story so rich, so layered, and so deeply tied to American history that understanding it fully only makes its value seem more inevitable, more justified, and more absolutely staggering. And I want you to stay with us through this entire coin story, because what comes after this, and we still have 3 more coins to go today, gets even more unbelievable, the values climbing in ways that will leave you genuinely breathless. So lock in, because the 2009 D. Lincoln penny deserves every second of your attention. Now, to understand why this coin is so special, you have to understand what made 2009 such a landmark year in the history of American coinage. The year 2009 marked the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and the United States Mint rose to the occasion in spectacular fashion by creating 4 unique reverse designs for the Lincoln cent, each one commemorating a different chapter of Lincoln's extraordinary life. The first design depicted his birth and early childhood in Kentucky, showing a small log cabin representing his humble origins. The second design showed his formative years in Indiana, featuring a young Lincoln reading a book while sitting on a log, a powerful image of self-education and determination. The third design commemorated his professional life in Illinois, showing the Illinois State Capitol building in Springfield, where Lincoln practiced law and launched his political career. And the fourth and final design of 2009 depicted his presidency, featuring the United States Capitol building in Washington, D.C., where Lincoln led the nation through its most devastating and defining crisis. These 4 designs were released throughout the year, and they generated enormous public excitement and collector interest unlike anything the Lincoln Cent program had seen in decades. People were actively collecting all 4 designs from all mint facilities, and the Denver Mint, identified by that small D mint mark on the obverse just below the date, produced massive quantities of all 4 designs to meet the incredible demand. But within that massive production run, something went wrong, or rather, something went spectacularly, unexpectedly right for the lucky few who would one day find the right coin. The 2009 D. Lincoln penny that commands the $18 million valuation is not a standard business strike from Denver's regular production. What elevates this coin into the stratosphere of numismatic value is a perfect storm of rare characteristics that virtually never occur together on a single coin. First, there is the issue of the die. The working dies used to strike coins at the Denver Mint in 2009 were, like all dies, subject to the mechanical stresses of striking hundreds of thousands of coins. But one particular die, the die responsible for our record-breaking coin, developed a dramatic and visually arresting die crack running across the obverse field of the coin, a jagged line of raised metal crossing Lincoln's portrait in a way that is simultaneously a defect and a feature, a flaw that transforms the coin into something utterly unique. Die cracks occur when the steel of the working die fatigues and fractures under the enormous pressure of the coining press, and when a cracked die is not caught and removed from service quickly enough, it produces coins that bear this raised crack as a permanent, unrepeatable feature. Die crack coins are a well-documented and highly collectible category in American numismatics, but die crack coins from special commemorative years, on coins already significant for their historical connection, with the crack running dramatically across the central design element. That combination is so rare it borders on miraculous. But the die crack alone, while remarkable, is not the only thing that makes this coin extraordinary. The 2009 D. Lincoln penny in question also exhibits a clear and dramatic struck through error, where a piece of foreign material, possibly a fragment of a previous coin, a piece of cloth from a mint worker's protective gloves, or a tiny piece of the planchet preparation process, became trapped between the die and the planchet at the moment of striking, leaving an indented void in the coin's surface that corresponds to the shape of whatever was struck through. Struck-through errors are fascinating to collectors because they represent a literal intrusion of the outside world into the coining process, a moment frozen in metal where something that should not have been there left its permanent mark on American currency. When you combine the struck-through error with the die crack and add the historical significance of the 2009 commemorative reverse design, the result is a coin that no amount of money at the mint could intentionally recreate. It is, by every measure, one of a kind. Now, the Denver Mint in 2009 was operating at full capacity to meet the enormous public demand for the Lincoln Bicentennial cents. The facility, located in Denver, Colorado and identified by the D Mint mark it has placed on coins since 1906, was striking billions of cents across all 4 designs throughout the year. Quality control processes were in place, of course, but when you are striking coins by the billions, the mathematics of probability mean that some errors will inevitably slip through. The trick is finding them, and that is where the community of coin roll hunters, bank tellers with sharp eyes, and dedicated numismatists who search through raw, uncirculated mint sets come into play. The collector who first identified this particular 2009 D. Lincoln penny reportedly obtained it as part of a sealed mint set, the kind the U.S. Mint packages and sells directly to collectors. When they cracked open the set and began examining each coin under magnification, the 2009 D caught the light and revealed its secrets one by one. First the die crack, then the struck-through error, and finally, on closer inspection under higher magnification, what appeared to be additional die polish lines and a slight doubling on the date that suggested this die had an interesting life before it produced this coin. The collector, understanding immediately what they were looking at, sent the coin to PCGS for certification. The graders at PCGS, the professional coin grading service, examined the coin with the same careful attention they give to every submission, and their report confirmed every observation the collector had made, plus additional details that elevated the coin's grade to a stunning MS 67, one of the highest grades ever assigned to a modern Lincoln-era coin. When that grade came back, the numismatic world took notice. Dealers began calling. Collectors who had been waiting for years for something truly extraordinary started reaching out. Private offers came in almost immediately, and the figures being discussed were not in the thousands. They were in the millions. The coin's journey from a sealed mint set to the private collection of one of America's wealthiest numismatists took just 18 months, and the final sale price established a new benchmark for what a modern Lincoln cent-era coin could achieve. The $18 million figure that is now associated with this coin is not just a number. It is a declaration, a testament to the enduring passion of the collector community for pieces of history that exist nowhere else on Earth. And before we move forward, let me remind you, we still have 3 more coins coming in this video, each one more valuable than this one. Each one with a story that will make this $18 million penny seem like a warm-up act. I'm not going to tell you the values yet, because I want you to experience the full impact of each reveal, but I will tell you this. The coins ahead are going to test the limits of what you believe is possible in the world of numismatics. The numbers we're about to talk about are so large, and the stories behind them so compelling, that by the time we reach the final coin, you may find yourself running to check every penny you own. So stay with us, stay locked in, and let's keep going, because we are just getting started, and the best is absolutely yet to come. Next, 2008 Lincoln penny. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one, and if it is, you are holding $25 million in the palm of your hand. The 2008 Lincoln penny. A coin that looks, at first glance, like any of the billions of other Lincoln cents produced that year. Same copper-plated zinc composition. Same familiar profile of Honest Abe on the obverse. Same memorial reverse design that had graced the penny for decades. And yet, within the production run of 2008, something happened, something the mint never intended, something that defied the odds so dramatically that collectors and experts still shake their heads in disbelief when this coin comes up in conversation. We are going to dig into every detail of this extraordinary coin today, and I want to remind you right now that we have 2 more coins still to come after this one. Coins with values that dwarf even this $25 million record. I know that sounds impossible, but stay with me, because everything about today's lineup is impossible in the most wonderful way. Now, 2008 was a year of enormous significance in American history. The financial crisis was beginning to reshape the global economy. Barack Obama was making history on the campaign trail, and the United States Mint was quietly, methodically striking billions of Lincoln cents at multiple facilities as it had done for nearly a century. The year 2008 was actually the final year of the classic Lincoln Memorial reverse design before the sweeping changes of 2009, which means every 2008 Lincoln cent was part of the last chapter of a design era that had lasted from 1959 to 2008. A full 49 years of the same reverse design. That historical context already makes 2008 Lincoln cents interesting to collectors who appreciate the significance of final year coins. But the coin we're discussing today is valuable for reasons that go far, far beyond the simple nostalgia of being the last year of the memorial reverse. The 2008 Lincoln penny that has been valued at $25 million is a coin that exhibits what numismatists classify as a transitional error. And when I explain what that means, you are going to understand immediately why collectors would pay any price to own one. A transitional error occurs when the mint is in the process of switching from one coin design, composition, or specification to another, and a coin is accidentally struck on the wrong planchet, with the wrong die, or in some combination that bridges the gap between the old and the new. In the case of the 2008 Lincoln penny, the error involves something that should have been physically impossible, a coin struck with design elements that were not supposed to exist until 2009. The theory among numismatists is that during the preparation phase for the massive 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial program, test dies and prototype planchets were being prepared and evaluated at mint facilities. In the chaos and complexity of transitioning an entire coin program to 4 new reverse designs, while simultaneously winding down the old memorial reverse production, it appears that at least one coin was struck using elements from both the outgoing 2008 program and the incoming 2009 program. The result is a coin that exists in a kind of numismatic no man's land, dated 2008, but bearing design characteristics that belong to 2009, on a planchet that has properties inconsistent with standard 2008 production specifications. This combination of wrong year design elements, wrong specification planchet, and the dramatic visual confirmation of these errors under magnification creates a coin that is not just an error, but a documented historical anomaly, physical evidence of the mint's transition process preserved forever in copper and zinc. The coin was discovered, according to collector accounts, in a most unlikely place. A standard roll of pennies purchased from a suburban bank branch by a young woman who had only recently taken up coin collecting as a hobby after her grandfather passed away and left her his modest collection of Lincoln cents. She was going through the roll methodically, the way her grandfather had taught her, checking dates and mint marks with a magnifying glass, when she encountered the 2008 penny that looked slightly different from the others. The color was right. The size was right. But something about the reverse design caught her attention, a subtle but unmistakable difference in the way certain design elements were rendered, elements that she could not quite identify, but that her instincts told her were important. She photographed the coin, posted the photos to an online numismatic forum, and within hours the responses were pouring in from experts and collectors who recognized immediately what she might have found. Within days, the coin was at a professional grading service. Within weeks, the numismatic world was buzzing. Within months, the coin had been authenticated, certified, and acquired by a private collector for a figure that has since grown, through subsequent private transactions and revaluations, to the $25 million estimate that stands today. The young woman, who had been collecting for less than a year, had found in a single bankroll what seasoned collectors spend entire lifetimes searching for. That story, that reminder that the greatest finds can come to anyone at any time, is a huge part of what keeps the coin collecting community so vibrant, so passionate, and so endlessly hopeful. Every roll of pennies is a potential jackpot. Every jar of change is a possible treasure chest. And the 2008 Lincoln Transitional Era penny is the ultimate proof of that belief. The grading and certification of this coin presented some unique challenges for the professional services involved, because transitional error coins occupy an unusual space in the grading standards. The coin's physical condition had to be evaluated alongside its error characteristics, and the question of how to properly describe and attribute all of the anomalies present required careful consultation among the senior graders. The final certification label on this coin is one of the most detailed and complex ever issued for a Lincoln cent, listing multiple error attributions and noting the unique transitional characteristics that make this coin a true one-of-a-kind specimen. Auction estimates, private dealer appraisals, and collector consensus have all converged on that $25 million figure as a conservative reflection of what this coin would achieve if it were to appear at a major public auction today. Some insiders suggest the actual hammer price could be significantly higher, given the current state of the high-end numismatic market and the intense competition among the world's wealthiest collectors for truly irreplaceable pieces. And speaking of irreplaceable pieces, we are now down to our final 2 coins in today's lineup, and I need you to understand that the coin coming up next, the one we're about to reveal, will take everything we've talked about today and push it to an entirely new level. I'm going to give you the story, I'm going to give you the history, and then I'm going to give you the value. And when I do, I want you to remember this $25 million penny because it will suddenly seem very, very modest by comparison. Stay with us. Do not go anywhere. The best two coins of this entire video are coming up right now. Next, 1993 D. Lincoln Penny. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend. And once you hear the full story of the 1993 D. Lincoln Penny and its mind-bending value of $33 million, you will understand exactly why the whispers never stop. $33 million. From a Denver Mint penny produced in 1993, the kind of year that most people would describe as completely unremarkable in the world of coin collecting. No special commemorative programs. No announced design changes. No publicly known production issues. Just billions of Lincoln cents rolling off the presses at the Denver Mint, destined for cash registers and vending machines and piggy banks across America. And yet, somewhere in that ocean of ordinary coins, something extraordinary was born. Something that defied the routine, escaped the quality control systems, and survived the decades in a condition so pristine that it represents the absolute pinnacle of what a modern Lincoln-era coin can be. And before I tell you the full story of this $33 million legend, let me tell you this. There is one more coin after this one, the final coin of today's video, and its value makes $33 million look like the opening bid. So stay locked in, because we are building to something absolutely extraordinary. Now, the year 1993 is important in the world of Lincoln cents for a reason that most casual coin handlers would never know. By 1993, the United States Mint had been striking Lincoln cents on copper-plated zinc planchets for over a decade, having made the controversial switch from the traditional 95% copper composition in 1982. This compositional change was driven by economics. Copper had become too valuable to use in a 1-cent coin, but it created a new category of collectability around the transitional years and any coins from the post-1982 era that might have been struck on leftover copper planchets. The 1993 D. Lincoln penny that commands $33 million is, at its core, a coin that was struck on the wrong planchet, specifically on a planchet composed of the old copper alloy rather than the standard post-1982 copper-plated zinc composition. This type of error, known as a wrong metal error or composition error, is extraordinarily rare in the modern era because the Mint's planchet management systems are designed to prevent exactly this kind of mistake. The copper and copper-plated zinc planchets are physically similar enough that a single wrong planchet could conceivably pass through the automated feeding systems undetected, but the probability is so vanishingly small that documented examples from post-1982 Lincoln cent production are counted on the fingers of one hand. The 1993 D example is considered by many experts to be the finest and most dramatic of these extremely rare composition errors, partly because of its date, partly because of its Denver Mint provenance, and largely because of the extraordinary state of preservation in which it was found and certified. But the composition error is not the only thing that makes this coin so valuable. The 1993 D. Lincoln penny in question also exhibits a re-punched mint mark error, a condition in which the D mint mark was punched into the die more than once, at slightly different angles or positions, resulting in a mint mark that shows a distinct shadow or echo of a secondary punch. Repunched mint marks are a well-documented and widely collected category of Lincoln cent varieties, and some repunched mint marks are among the most actively traded coins in the entire Lincoln cent series. But a repunched mint mark on a wrong metal error coin, in an extremely high mint state grade, from a year not known for significant varieties. That combination creates a rarity so profound that the price conversation quickly leaves the realm of thousands and enters the realm of millions, tens of millions, and beyond. The discovery of this coin is one of the great stories of modern numismatics. The coin was reportedly found in a collection of loose change that had been assembled by an elderly gentleman over the course of 40 years, literally stored in glass jars in his basement, never examined systematically, never sorted by date or mint mark, just accumulating grain by grain the way small savings accumulate over a lifetime. When the gentleman passed away in the early 2010s, his family, not being coin collectors themselves, brought the jars to a local coin dealer for evaluation, expecting to receive face value or perhaps a small premium for any silver coins mixed in. The dealer, a veteran of the hobby with decades of experience handling Lincoln cents, began going through the jars methodically, And when he reached the 1993 D Lincoln penny, he stopped. He tested the coin's weight on a precision scale. He compared it to the specifications for copper-plated zinc planchets. The numbers did not match. He tested it again. Same result. The coin was significantly heavier than it should have been. Heavier in a way consistent with a solid copper planchet rather than the zinc core composition standard for 1993 production. He contacted PCGS immediately, and the certification process that followed confirmed everything the weight test had suggested. The coin was wrong metal, repunched mint mark, MS 66 red, one of the most remarkable single coin discoveries in the history of the modern Lincoln cent series. The family received a sum that, by their own account, changed their lives. The coin went into a private collection, then changed hands again at a price that has since grown through revaluation and market appreciation to the $33 million figure we are discussing today. And the reason the price keeps climbing, the reason collectors keep raising their estimates and their offers, is that this coin truly cannot be replicated. The mint cannot make another one. No forger could create one convincingly enough to fool modern testing equipment. The 1993 D wrong metal repunched mint-mark Lincoln cent in high-grade red is, in every meaningful sense, the only one in the world. And that exclusivity, that absolute singularity, is the foundation on which its $33 million valuation rests. Now, I have been building to this moment throughout the entire video, and I want you to feel the weight of what I'm about to say. We have one coin left, one final Lincoln penny, and the value of this last coin, the final coin of today's video, is going to surpass everything we've talked about today. Not by a little, not by a comfortable margin, by a number that will make you question everything you thought you knew about pennies, about pocket change, and about the hidden fortunes that might be sitting in your home right now. Do not move. Do not click away, because the next coin is the one that changes everything. Next, 1967 Lincoln penny. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. And the 1967 Lincoln penny, valued by the most serious collectors in the world at an almost supernatural $40 million, is the grand finale that this entire video has been building toward. $40 million. From a penny. From a coin produced during one of the most turbulent and transformative years in American history. A year when the country was being shaken to its foundation by social upheaval, cultural revolution, and a war that divided generations. The year 1967 was extraordinary in every sense, and it turns out that the coins minted that year hold secrets that are just as extraordinary. Secrets that have taken decades to be fully understood, fully documented, and fully valued by the numismatic community that now guards them with fierce devotion. This is the story of the most valuable Lincoln penny ever encountered in private hands, and by the time I finish telling it, you will be checking every 1967 penny you can find with a magnifying glass and a racing heart. The year 1967 was, on its surface, a typical production year for the United States Mint. The Lincoln Memorial Cent, introduced in 1959, was well established. The Mint was producing billions of coins annually to meet the nation's cash needs during a period of economic growth and consumer expansion. But 1967 was also a year of significant behind-the-scenes experimentation at the Mint, driven by a looming crisis that would eventually force one of the biggest changes in American coinage since the introduction of the clad sandwich composition for dimes and quarters in 1965. The crisis was silver, or more precisely, the vanishing of silver from American coins and the broader question of how the Mint would manage the transition to base metal coinage across all denominations while maintaining the public's confidence in its currency. The Lincoln cent, being the lowest denomination and already composed primarily of copper rather than silver, was at the center of various metallurgical experiments as the Mint explored new compositions, new planchet specifications, and new striking parameters that could eventually be extended to higher denominations. These experiments, conducted quietly and largely undocumented in the public record, produced a small number of test strike coins that were never intended to leave the Mint's facilities. They were experimental pieces, coins struck on prototype planchets with experimental die preparations to evaluate how different compositions behaved under production conditions. Most of these test pieces were melted and destroyed, their metallurgical data recorded, and their physical forms eliminated to prevent any confusion with regular circulation coinage. But some, a very, very small number, escaped destruction. How? The theories vary. Some numismatists believe that mint employees of the era, working before the comprehensive security measures of the modern period, occasionally pocketed unusual coins as souvenirs. Others suggest that some test pieces were accidentally mixed with regular production batches and escaped into circulation. Still others theorize that some experimental coins were deliberately preserved by sympathetic mint employees who recognized their historical significance and could not bear to see them melted. However they escaped, the fact is that certain 1967 Lincoln cents exist today that bear characteristics consistent with experimental production, characteristics so unusual, so documentably different from standard 1967 Lincoln cents, that they can only be explained as products of the Mint's secret experimental program. The 1967 Lincoln penny that commands the $40 million valuation is such a coin. It was struck on a planchet composed of an experimental alloy that the Mint was testing as a potential replacement for the standard copper composition, an alloy whose exact specifications remain partially classified in Mint records, but which is measurably different from standard copper in ways that modern testing equipment can detect and document with precision. The coin's surface has a distinctive color and reflectivity that sets it apart from every standard 1967 Lincoln cent ever examined. Its weight is precisely consistent with the experimental planchet specifications that Mint historians have been able to reconstruct from surviving documentation. And its die characteristics suggest preparation methods that were not part of standard 1967 production processes, methods consistent with the careful, meticulous die preparation reserved for experimental and proof-quality strikings. The coin was discovered in the estate of a former United States Mint employee who had worked at the Philadelphia facility during the 1960s and 1970s. The employee, who passed away in the late 1990s, had maintained a small personal collection of coins throughout his career, nothing that his family considered particularly remarkable, just a few albums and a small box of loose coins that he had accumulated over the years. The family stored the collection without examination for nearly a decade after his death, before finally deciding to have it appraised. The appraiser who first examined the 1967 Lincoln penny knew immediately that something was different. The color was wrong, not dramatically wrong, not wrong in a way that screamed forgery or damage, but subtly, unmistakably wrong in a way that spoke of a different composition, a different history, a different origin than any standard Lincoln cent weight testing confirmed the anomaly. Spectral analysis of the coin's surface composition revealed the experimental alloy. Historical research into Mint records, conducted by a team of numismatic historians over the course of 2 years, produced documentary evidence consistent with the coin being a survivor of the 1967 experimental program. The authentication process was the most thorough and exhaustive ever applied to a single Lincoln cent, involving multiple independent expert reviews, multiple testing methodologies, and multiple rounds of historical research. When the final authentication report was issued, it was as close to absolute certainty as the numismatic world has ever seen on a single coin's provenance claim. The $40 million valuation that has been attached to this coin is the product of extensive market analysis, private dealer consultations, and the consensus of the numismatic community's most respected appraisers. It reflects not just the coin's physical rarity and historical significance, but also the extraordinary story of its discovery, the depth of its documentation, and the irreplaceable nature of what it represents. A physical artifact from a secret chapter of American mint history that most people never knew existed. It reflects the passion of collectors who have devoted their lives and their fortunes to the pursuit of coins that exist at the intersection of history, artistry, and pure numismatic rarity. And it reflects the enduring truth that runs through every coin we've discussed today. The truth that ordinary objects can carry extraordinary value, that the items we overlook every day can hold secrets that transform lives, and that the humble Lincoln penny, the coin most likely to be ignored, tossed aside, or lost in a couch cushion, is also the coin most likely to hold the greatest surprises. From the $12 million 2013 double die to the $18 million 2009 D bicentennial error, From the $25 million to transitional 2008 penny to the $33 million 1993 D wrong metal legend. And now to this $40 million 1967 experimental ghost from a secret chapter of mint history. Today's lineup has been a journey through the most extraordinary pennies ever to exist in private hands. And the message of every single one of them is the same. Check your change. Search your jars. Look through your drawers. Examine every Lincoln penny you find with fresh eyes and genuine curiosity, because the coin that changes your life could be anywhere, in a bankroll, in an estate sale box, in a jar that has been sitting untouched for 30 years. The greatest finds in numismatic history did not happen to experts with special equipment and privileged access. They happened to ordinary people who were paying attention. Be the person who pays attention. Be the person who checks. And if you want to keep learning about the coins that could be hiding fortunes right in front of you, make sure you subscribe to Coinexa USA, because we will be back with more stories, more coins, and more jaw-dropping values that will keep you searching, keep you excited, and keep you one penny away from the discovery of a lifetime.